Winds generally out of the east. 5 to 10 miles per hour. Overall, though, tomorrow shaping up beautifully for those outdoor plans. Speaking of which, here's what you can expect. Highs again around 89. Winds out of the east. Rain chance running at 0%. Little hotter farther inland. Immokalee and LaBelle could see those highs in the lower 90s. And then all of us each and every day running a little bit toastier for your Saturday. Sunny, breezy, record heat a possibility both Saturday into Sunday. And it looks like we'll start off next week on the hot side as well.
The government is out with a plan today to overhaul our country's organ transplant system. The Health Resources and Services Administration says it's focused on strengthening accountability and transparency. That includes seeking out more contracts to run the organ procurement and transplantation network. The system has only ever been managed by the nonprofit United Network for Organ Sharing. It's been criticized for its handling of organs and long wait lists for transplants. Other changes announced today include a new public dashboard to have more transparency around how patients and organs are matched. Drug shortages are increasing, and this could be a national security risk. That's the warning today from a new Senate committee report. It found new drug shortages increased nearly 30% from 2021 to 2022. At the end of last year, nearly 300 drugs were in short supply. The report warns our country's over-reliance on foreign suppliers is where the national security risk comes up. The Senate committee wants to require a number of government agencies to do supply chain risk assessments for drug shortages. The FAA is out with a new safety alert today after a series of near collisions at airports. The agency is telling airlines to be more vigilant. The alert says they should evaluate information collected through their safety management processes, identify hazards, increase and improve safety communications with employees, and enact mitigations. There have been 6 close calls at airports since the start of the year. Fears about the state of the banking industry are dominating headlines following the recent bank collapses. And there's another issue facing some financial institutions that's also raising concerns. According to the nonprofit research organization, the Urban Institute, Black credit unions are significantly less likely to offer key digital services like online and mobile banking. Last year, 81% of all credit unions offered online banking compared to 50% of Black credit unions. Researchers say a few things could be contributing to the technology gap.
But at the same time, these MDIs, Black MDIs in particular, are smaller, less financial capacity. And that's going to be critical because really creating and running these types of digital services takes some upfront investment. People costs, infrastructure costs, as well as understanding the regulatory framework in which you're operating.
The Biden administration invested $9 billion in community development, financial institutions, and minority depository institutions through the Emergency Capital Investment Program. It's a move researchers say could help close the tech gap with Black banks.
I do think that the federal government does have a role in ensuring that everyone, particularly those that serve historically marginalized communities, have the ability to participate in the economy and in the financial system.
Now, according to the FDIC, just 23 of the 5,400 insured financial institutions in 2018 were Black owned.
It's official, our almanac is in. We hit 87 degrees today. Tomorrow expected to be even hotter as we head toward record territory this weekend. We'll talk more about that coming up.
Live from Southwest Florida, you're watching Fox 4 News at 5.
And thank you for sticking with us here on Fox 4 News at 5. I'm Sherry Armstrong.
And I'm Chris Searle. Collier County deputies tell us that they're looking for a mother and her baby who have not been seen in nearly a week. 17-year-old Dejunirli Deshomes and her 3-month-old daughter Alicia were last seen at their home in Immokalee back on March the 16th. Investigators say they have not had contact with their family since then. Now, the mother is described as 5'8". Both she and her baby have black hair and brown eyes, as you see here. If you have any information, reach out to the Collier County Sheriff's Office. Over the past 6 months, Fox 4 has been committed to following through for you every step of the recovery after Hurricane Ian changed Southwest Florida as we know it. But tonight, we turn the page to the future.
Fox 4 anchor Nadine Yanes with a preview of a series she is working on and kicking off tonight on what the priorities are for the cities and the counties where you live when it comes to rebuilding, with a promise to deliver on those plans and giving them to you tonight.
And she begins this journey tonight in Naples. Nadine.
Yeah, that's right. Hey, Chris and Shari, this is what we're talking about when it comes to rebuilding. We're ready to turn the page to the future, looking at how Southwest Florida does plan to rebuild. And we're not just talking about it, but in this series, we are actually looking at the plans. What could the iconic Naples Pier look like? What about the beaches? Will the sand change? Would it look differently? Well, that is what we promise to show you in this new series called Our Blueprint Back. So in this series, we are starting right here in Naples. We're asking city leaders, what are the priorities here? Here in Naples, they have a list of more than 300 projects that need to be done after Hurricane Ian. But what's getting fixed first? Is it the pier? Is it the beaches? Maybe restoring flooding issues here? We're asking those questions to city leaders and then showing you the plans. Fox 4 actually spent the day in Naples speaking to residents here on what they would want to see rebuilt and what their vision is for the city. I caught up with seasonal resident Charmaine Elkins, who she said for her it is the beaches, with several accesses still damaged, roads collapsed, and dunes gone.
The sand dunes, definitely. Some of the extra debris, would kind of be, although it's pretty out the way, it still just kind of looks a mess.
So of all the things that you think the city should focus on, you think beaches should be number one?
I think they should be number one. That's what everybody comes for.
And so tonight on Fox 4 News at 10, I have that exclusive sit down with the Naples city manager to show you the plans to bring the beaches back. And as I mentioned, it's not just the beaches. We are looking at the renderings for the future of what the iconic Naples Pier could look like, the renderings, the drawings, and our blueprint back for the city of Naples. Turning the page to the future, while we're also making sure that we recognize the history and how Southwest Florida has changed forever since Hurricane Ian. History that now will be highlighted at the Sanibel History Museum next week. And that is where tonight, as we are continuing our team coverage on how Southwest Florida is rebuilding nearly 6 months after Hurricane Ian, we toss it now to Fox 4's Caitlin Knapp in Sanibel, talking more about the damage that you saw back in December. What does it look like now?
Well, on this end of the historic village, the east side, it actually did pretty well when they got a full look at it. And the good news for you, you'll be able to see it for yourself soon. And that's because the Sanibel Historical Museum will offer tours once again starting next week on the 6-month mark of Hurricane Ian. They'll showcase 4 buildings. And that's because the others on the west end, those are severely damaged. Selena Montesano, the museum's president and chair, tells me all these buildings are treasures to the community and some of the oldest on the island. They've been through countless hurricanes, and she's excited to show the community how they could stand up to the power of Ian.
We want to really provide some normalcy to the community. And the reason we decided to leave these because we really wanted people to see what Ian, the wrath of Ian, I call it the wrath of Ian, did to some things.
The soft opening is on March 28th, again, 6 months after Ian hit. It'll be from 3 to 5 right here on Dunlop Road. After, they'll be open Tuesday through Thursday from 10 to 1. Admission is free and donations are accepted. Now, all these buildings tell a story about how the island developed to what it is today, before and after Ian. And Nadine, in a story I'm working on for you tonight at 6, I'm going to show you how the museum is going to embrace Hurricane Ian and a special exhibit that they're going to have of a monument that we all know and love. I'm sure you can probably guess what it is.
Yeah, so many iconic and staples here in Southwest Florida. I can't wait to see your story at 6 o'clock. And you guys are going to want to stick with us tonight at Fox 4 News at 6 because we have team coverage from Caitlin in Sanibel to Fort Myers Beach to here in Naples, all looking at the rebuilding process nearly 6 months after Hurricane Ian. We'll see you again at 6 o'clock. Shari, Chris, back to you.
Nadine, thank you so much. And still to come on Fox 4 News at 5, the grand jury investigating former President Donald Trump's hush money case were told not to come in today. What's next, a day after an indictment was expected?
TikTok CEO is getting ready to meet with Congress tomorrow. U.S. lawmakers are concerned about the app's effect on young users and possible national security risk. The platform CEO plans to tell them that TikTok is committed to safety, data protection, and keeping the app free from Chinese government influence. This also comes as many members of Congress push for an outright ban of the app. A bill incentivizing people to buy electric bikes has been reintroduced in Congress. The E-Bike Act would offer a refundable tax credit for up to $1,500. Brand new e-bikes that cost less than $8,000 would be eligible for the refund. That's up from $4,000 when the bill was first proposed. Income limits for eligibility would also be raised to $150,000 for a single tax filer and $300,000 for joint filers. Panera is testing palm scanning. The technology from Amazon lets you pay for your order just by scanning your palm. Panera will first test this at 2 of its first restaurants in St. Louis. It plans to expand the test to up to 20 locations over the next few months.
The Republican-controlled legislators' push against gender dysphoria treatments for transgender minors cleared its first House committee today with a split vote.
And the bill would ban transgender therapies for minors, but it also would affect insurance coverage for adults seeking gender-affirming care. The new bill would also restrict changes to birth certificates, which could stop adults going through transgender treatments from changing their names or their gender on their ID. It would also allow courts in Florida to consider gender dysphoria as part of child custody cases.
Because these treatments are experimental, they are dangerous, they have a lot of long-term side effects.
This bill overrides parents' rights to seek health care for their children, potentially life-saving health care.
This bill has a similar version in the Senate. Both are now one committee away from the chamber floors. Fox 4 following through for you tonight.
We have updates on several stories we're tracking for you from Charlotte County all the way down to Naples.
And unfortunately, severe drought conditions continue across Collier, Hendry into southern Lee County. And we'll be getting in new data tomorrow morning from the USGS. I suspect this area will be expanding. We'll talk more about why this drought is likely to get worse before it gets better.
It's only Wednesday, but it has been a busy week, and Fox 4 is continuing to watch several stories that impact you and your community.
Starting off in Lee County, still no arrest made in the deadly shooting at a Fort Myers apartment complex, but police say despite the suspects still being out there, no threat to the public. Police say the shooting happened at about 3:30 a.m. on Sunday when a man shot and killed another man at the Portofino apartment complex just off of Colonial. Police say a woman was also wounded with a gunshot wound to the chest, and the suspect got away in a stolen Nissan truck, later found but unoccupied. In Charlotte County, the man whom sheriff's deputies and police negotiated with for hours in downtown Punta Gorda is now charged with fleeing to elude and possessing a firearm as a convicted felon. Deputies pulled James Curry over after taking a tip from the Collier County Sheriff's Office about a criminal suspect in the Punta Gorda area yesterday. And during the traffic stop, deputies say Curry tried to get away and then barricaded himself inside of a car in a parking lot at Tamiami Trail and Marion right downtown. And after After hours long involving a standoff, deputies finally took Curry into custody. They did say they found 4 weapons loaded inside of his car. And you're looking live at a Manhattan courthouse where a grand jury investigating former President Donald Trump's hush money case was supposed to meet today.
The grand jury was told not to come in after the Manhattan District Attorney's Office says at least one witness may need to provide additional testimony on allegations that the former president paid hush money to porn star Stormy Daniels ahead of the 2016 election.
The former president denies any wrongdoing, but if the jury determines that there is enough evidence, this could be the first indictment of a former U.S. president in our nation's history. Fox 4 is following the case. We'll update you on air and online with any further developments.
Well, the Federal Reserve continuing its fight against inflation amid the banking crisis that we're seeing.
And the Fed decided to raise interest rates again. Now, this is the 9th increase since March of last year. Fed Chair Jerome Powell said the central bank will use all of its tools to try to keep the banking system safe, but also warned the Federal Reserve has a long way to go in the push to try to lower the inflation rates.
The process of getting inflation back down to 2% has a long way to go and is likely to be bumpy.
The Fed's decision to raise rates again will bring its benchmark federal funds rate to a range between 4 3/4 and 5%. That's the highest level since September of 2007.
The next WNBA season begins in May, and after missing all of last season due to being held in Russia, Brittany Griner is set to return. But Paul Crane found her return could cause a new problem.
Brittany Griner's return is great news for the WNBA, but it does present at least one significant problem. There are security concerns surrounding Griner flying commercial during the season. While Griner has not yet officially requested charter flights, the league will face a problem if she does. Charter travel has not been allowed. WNBA revenues totaled a reported $60 million last season. Viewership was at its highest point in 14 years. But teams travel like families on a strict budget.
Travel is always a pain point, unfortunately. I'm in this role 7 years, and I have seen it for 7 years.
While their male counterparts in the NBA travel in style aboard private charter jets, WNBA players have been forced to fly commercial, dealing with everything from middle seats to long delays and cancellations.
For years, the requirement was that WNBA players travel coach class, kind of period, end of sentence.
New York Liberty owner Joe Tsai flew his team charter 5 times in 2021. That violation of league rules earned the Liberty a $500,000 fine.
We are roaming the airport. It's the first time in my 11 seasons that I've ever had to sleep in the airport.
After a big win by LA in Washington last season to keep their playoff hopes alive, the Sparks tried to fly home but couldn't. About half the team wound up sleeping in the airport.
There weren't enough rooms. After our flight got delayed, canceled. Delayed, and then canceled at 1 a.m.
And then rebooked for first thing in the morning.
In 2018, the Las Vegas Aces wound up stuck in 2 airports, trying to fly from Nevada to Washington. After a 26-hour travel nightmare, the team landed just hours before tip-off and were asked to play. They didn't and had to forfeit. When it comes to cost, WNBA Commissioner Kathy Engelbert recently told ESPN that charter travel would cost the league $25 million a year.
We don't have to slay the dragon on this one. We don't have to look to solve it in one fell swoop. Now is the time. We can do this. We can phase this in. We've seen it done. MLS and their Players Association negotiated something very much like what I'm describing.
Major League Soccer has allowed teams to go from 4 charters per year to 8, and starting in 2024, it will expand to 16. In the postseason, teams must use charters for all matches.
Over time, phased in, reasonable approach, did not disrupt the financial model of their league, and it wouldn't do it for us.
And then there's the NBA, which retains 50% ownership of the WNBA. NBA players have taken note of the horrors of WNBA travel.
Got to get something done, and I'm with them, no matter how much it costs. Per se, I think we can all collectively come together and make something very doable happen. And we just want to have our ladies have peace of mind while they're playing.
Our player leadership at the WNBPA, along with the player leadership at the NBPA, they've been talking over the last few months, and I am hopeful. I'm very hopeful that coming out of their CBA negotiations, we will see something that helps us address this pain point in a meaningful way.
The current labor deal between the NBA and its players expires after next season, but there's an opt-out option this June. If the WNBA can take that first step in getting charter travel off the ground, then maybe the WNBA and its players will be able to make the league really take flight. Paul Crane, Scripps News.
And turning now to our weather here across Southwest Florida, a beautiful live look at the Bayfront Inn in downtown Naples. So overall, we are enjoying some very, very picturesque conditions from Collier County to Lee County and above. Notice those fair weather cumulus out there as well, but that's about it. Mostly sunny to partly cloudy skies for those of you heading outside, and temperatures definitely warmer this afternoon. We hit 86 degrees in Punta Gorda. Naples officially hit 85. Fort Myers registered an afternoon temperature of 87 degrees. Not quite in record territory today, but certainly a warmer than average afternoon. The average high for this time of year now up to 82 degrees, but all of us obviously surpassed that after a pretty cool start. So because of these exceptionally hot temperatures, you know what that means. That continues to dry us out, especially when you don't have anything in the way of rainfall anywhere close to Southwest Florida. So we're going to be looking at our Keach-Byram Drought Index. This particular drought index, you might recall, measures the amount of moisture in the top 8 inches of the ground, that being the layer that tends to burn so quickly during wildfire season, which we are certainly in the midst of. So Collier County, extremely dry, the driest county in the state. Hendry County not far behind. Lee County right now the third driest, and Glades isn't far behind either, so I won't be surprised if Glades County goes into a burn ban sooner rather than later. As of right now, those burn bans remain in effect for Collier, Hendry, as well as Lee, and we are still very dry from Charlotte, DeSoto into Sarasota counties. The reason why our drought conditions are likely to worsen, this strong ridge of high pressure. So long as it stays put, we will continue to see our temperatures heat up. So take a look at this. As we wrap up the week and head into the weekend, we're calling for record temperatures. Saturday, Sunday, as of right now, those would tie the records, 89 and 90 degrees respectively. Early next week, we'll stay around 90, and even with a little front early part next week, still we are above that average of 82 degrees. Now, beyond that, I want to show you that 8 to 14-day temperature outlook. We are expecting these abnormally warm conditions to continue into the first week of April. And as of right now, the probability for precipitation will be basically right on par for this time of year. So as of right now, we are looking at normal rainfall amounts expected. But when you look at just how hot it's been, we're going to need more than just the average amount. Heading into tomorrow, looking for lots of sunshine, so be sure to grab the sunscreen, wear those sunglasses. We're pushing up to 89 degrees. It's going to be a warm one. Winds out of the east 5 to 10 miles per hour, staying in the upper 80s as we head into the weekend with records possible both Saturday and Sunday.
Extreme temperatures this winter that may have led to another decline in the monarch butterfly population. The number of butterflies that usually spend the winter in Mexico dropped 22%, and the number of trees lost that the butterflies like almost tripled. That's according to Mexico's Nature Reserve. They believe early frost in the U.S. may have played a role, along with illegal logging in Mexico forest. Pet shelters across the country are packed again. A number of things are causing this, including the higher cost of living. Axel Tercios looks at how you can help even if you can't adopt.
Who are all these people? Derek Zied says his cat Charlene is the joy of his life.
When I first saw her, her name was like Cow, because she looks like a cow.
But his happiness turned into a nightmare. Zied came home after a long weekend to an injured Charlene.
Her eye was closed and like a little bloody, and I was really scared.
The then 3-year-old cat was hurt while in the care of Zied's housemates. He rushed her to a veterinary emergency hospital.
I didn't have pet insurance, so when I went, they took her in, did all the basic stuff, got her like stable, and that was a couple $100, which was really hard for me because I worked part-time at the time and I didn't have much money.
Charlene needed immediate surgery, but with no money left to pay for the expensive medical procedure, Ziad made the hard decision to surrender his cat to an animal shelter.
And they could take her in and they would treat her, but she wouldn't be my cat anymore. And I was like crying for like a day and a half.
Now we're seeing more medically and behaviorally more animals that need more specialized care.
Valeria Cáceres Gil from the American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, or ASPCA, says the increased number of animals in shelters today is being driven by a combination of many factors. But nationally, it is not being driven by an increase in owner surrenders to shelters.
Some of the factors that have influence in pet ownership is the struggle that many community members are finding when they're looking for pet-friendly housing and also affording veterinary care.
While the national animal shelter intake numbers are still below pre-pandemic levels, many animal welfare organizations like the Animal Care Centers of New York City are struggling with capacity challenges, with more animals coming into the shelters than leaving. They are telling us that one of the causes to the increased number of animals in shelters is that they are staying longer at the sites.
As they stay inside the shelter longer, it's not great for them, mentally or physically. And many of them will break down. You know, they're stressed. So they're not showing well to potential adopters that come in. And we went from an average length of stay of 8 days pre-pandemic to now we're at 13 days.
The Shelter Animals Count database released a report in January 2023 that shows nationwide shelter animal intake was 4% higher in 2022 than in 2021, though still lower than it was in 2019. This report also revealed that the number of animals leaving shelters remained flat in 2022 versus 2021, meaning space in shelters for animals is shrinking.
There are many other ways that you can help: volunteering, becoming a foster parent.
Year over year, pet food is up 15%, and pets and pet products are up 12%. And the ASPCA estimates that the average annual cost of a dog is $1,391, while the average annual cost of a cat is $1,149.
Pets are being surrendered by families that have owned these pets for years. There are pets that are from families that are struggling. They're struggling financially to provide for their family.
She turned 4 this past December.
As for Tarek Ziad, he was able to keep Charlene.
I actually didn't even know that the ASPCA could treat her for like free or reduced until I got there and was trying to give her up.
We offer fully subsidized or partially subsidized veterinary care for pet parents that are struggling.
Ziad says he's grateful, and he isn't letting go of his dear friend, Charlene. Axel Terzius, Scripps News, New York City.
Coming up on Fox 4 News at 6, Southwest Florida is rebuilding nearly 6 months after Hurricane Ian.
We will show you the latest projects and the progress made in the past 175 days. We'll see you at 6.
Nearly 6 months after Ian hit, tonight we're asking your city leaders, what are the priorities as you build back? And we start in Naples.
Not too overdone, because it's still Naples and it's still really kind of reserved. So I would like to keep it kind of that feel.
Plus, its doors have been closed since the storm hit, but now they're ready to reopen, and with a new look at the hurricane's impact.
They're treasures to our community.
An exclusive look as the Sanibel Museum is set to reopen, and on Fort Myers Beach, rebuilding changes that could impact the island for years to come.
Fox 4 News at 6 starts now.
Live from Southwest Florida, you're watching Fox 4 News at 6.
And over the past 6 months, Fox 4 has been committed to following through for you every step of the hurricane recovery process after Ian hit. It all changed Southwest Florida as we know it. Thanks for joining us. I'm Chris Earl.
And I'm Shari Armstrong. But tonight we are taking a look at what's to come. Fox 4 evening anchor Nadine Yanes is live for us. She's got a first look at a series she's been working on, which shows you the priorities for rebuilding in our area, cities and counties, and the plans already in the works. Good evening, Nadine.
Hey, good evening, Shari and Chris. Chris said it perfectly. Fox 4 really is committed to helping you in every step of this recovery process since September 28th, 2022. And it seems like by day, things are changing. And that is why over the next week, we are doubling down in that commitment as that 6-month mark approaches. And tonight we have team coverage of that rebuilding process all up and down the Southwest Florida coast, beginning with Caitlin Knapp, who is up in Sanibel today. She is looking at how the Sanibel Historic Museum wants to commemorate the lighthouse next week for the 6-month mark. And then Colton Chavez live in Fort Myers Beach, looking at new rules and rebuilding regulations and what the future of Fort Myers is going to look like there. But we start here in Naples because as we look back over the last 6 months, we also want to turn the page to the future in a new series that you're going to see for the first time launching tonight on Fox 4 News at 10, where we talk a lot about the plans, what things could look like, but what do the plans actually look like? Well, we have a series tonight that's going to show you the concepts that are already drawn up, the actual renderings, and our blueprint back. And that journey starts right here in Naples tonight at 10. So this is a preview of what you can expect. I actually sat down with city leaders, and they told me that they have a list of about 300 projects that they want to look at. And my first question was, what are the top projects? What's the priority here? Well, you probably won't be surprised to hear it is the pier. Also, the beach is a top priority as well. But what could that pier look like? Well, I spoke to residents in Naples. They had their own vision for the pier, including one seasonal resident, Lloyd Cummins. He actually says that he comes here often. He has so many memories at the iconic Naples pier. And take a look at what he wants to see.
What would you like to see with the future of the pier? You think the whole thing needs to come down? Do you have any ideas conceptually or anything that you'd like to see? Concessions or?
Well, I saw the damage from the previous hurricane, and then they rebuilt it, and I thought, okay, they've done a great job. This should hold up, and it didn't. So I think we've got to be higher. That storm surge, the waves, they just come up underneath and lift the boards, and so it's got to be above. What we now know is the possible storm surge of about 15 feet.
But in preparation.
Yeah, and we saw that devastating storm surge. So tonight at 10, I have that exclusive sit down with the Naples city manager, who confirms, as I said, the Naples pier is the top priority, how long this will take, what it could look like. We have the first draft of those plans already drawn up. It's really interesting because back here live at the Naples pier, at the end of the pier, there's already a survey up for people to weigh in on what they want to see. So we'll have so much more tonight at Fox 4 News at 10. Until then, we want to continue our team coverage tonight as that 6-month mark approaches next Tuesday. This time we're going live to Sanibel with Fox 4's Caitlin Knapp, who is taking a look at how the Sanibel Historic Museum is now ready to open its doors 6 months after Ian, and how, Caitlin, they're going to have a special commemoration for the lighthouse, another icon here of Southwest Florida.
Yeah, truly an icon, the Sanibel Lighthouse. A leg broke off during Ian, but it's still standing thanks to a wooden leg. And the Sanibel Historic Museum will be adding that to its history here by opening up a new exhibit, all while commemorating some of the historic Ians that survived Hurricane Ian.
we are responsible for preserving the Sanibel history.
History is still standing at the Sanibel Historic Museum.
We want people to celebrate the buildings that are able to be looked at.
Buildings Museum President Selena Montesano says she's excited to share with the community once again.
We are blessed to be able to, following Ian, be able to open 4 of our buildings.
All slightly damaged by Hurricane Ian.
And that is the height of where the water came up.
Like Bailey's General Store.
We're not going to clean that mark off. We're going to say this is the Ian storm and this is where it rose to.
You'll notice some screen or roof damage on some of the other buildings.
These historic buildings have gone through many hurricanes before.
Hurricanes like Ian. And their goal now is to
preserve the history of the island
and tell its story at their soft opening on March 28th, the 6-month mark of Ian.
We're dedicating a portion of that, that building to a lighthouse exhibit, which will show the before and after pictures.
Before Ian, homes for lighthouse keepers surrounded this area.
There is very little evidence that they ever existed.
But the lighthouse itself still stands with a temporary leg. Also on display, a lantern given to the city of Sanibel by the Coast Guard on Tuesday. A symbol, Montesano says, shows the strength of our community.
Celebrate the fact that we are survivors, we are strong.
Now, the soft opening will be on March 28th from 3 to 5. They're still putting everything together to get ready for the opening. After March 28th, they'll be open from Tuesday to Thursday from 10 to 1. So you can come in here for free admission. You can do a donation to help them preserve history here on Sanibel Island. After June 1st is when they're going to close. That's when they're going to restore all of the buildings here and keep that Sanibel Lighthouse exhibit. Nadine.
All right, Caitlin, I'm sure so many people are excited for that. Thank you. Well, there's also another long answered question since Hurricane Ian hit, and that question is, what will the future of Fort Myers Beach look like? Will that feel of old Florida still be there? As we know, it was ground zero. Well, tonight, our Fox 4's Colton Chavez is getting those answers for us as the conversation continues when it comes to rebuilding rules on Fort Myers Beach. Colton, specifically on how tall and wide both businesses and residential properties can be. What did you find out today?
Nadine, well, you hit it right on the head. The fear from residents that we've heard all along is that they don't want Fort Myers Beach in its traditional feel to look like our East Coast. We're talking about those large high-rises. And one piece that really dictates how an area can build is their floor area ratio, more commonly called the FAR. Now, what that does for context is the lower your building is to the ground, the wider and more dense it can be. And as it goes up, the less dense and less wide that it can be. So the decision that was made from beach leaders on Monday is that they want to keep their town's FAR the way it was before Hurricane Ian. Now, that's huge. That's for commercial properties, and that's also for residential properties as well. So that really starts to pave the way moving forward for what the town of Fort Myers Beach will look like moving forward. And to give you some added context, I thought this was interesting. At the meeting on Monday, one beach leader said, take a look at Margaritaville behind us. So when we're talking about commercial properties, this building fits into the already established FAR code. They said, do we want commercial buildings to be any bigger than what we're seeing right now? And unanimously across the board, all beach leaders said, no, we do not want to see it be any bigger than that. But now the question remains, what does this mean for the neighborhoods that past Margaritaville line this entire beach, and as we've shown you throughout the months, have been devastated by Hurricane Ian, with a ton of people working to rebuild? Well, I'm getting into those neighborhoods, and I'm going to ask those tough questions to people that are going through this process right now if they feel keeping the FAR the way it was is a good idea. I'll have that story for you when I check in tonight on Fox 4 News at 10 o'clock. But for now, live from a very busy Fort Myers Beach, Colton Chavez, Fox 4.
All right, Colton, thank you for that report. It's also busy right back here in Naples as we just showed you just a glimpse of where we're at in the recovery process. Again, 6 months after Hurricane Ian is happening on Tuesday. And since then, Fox 4 has been in your communities where you live, and you're going to see that continue over the next week or so. And like I said, not just look back, but also look to the future with this new series. Again, our Blueprint Back launching tonight with our exclusive sit down with the city manager here in Naples at 10 o'clock. Until then, Shari and Chris, we were out there in those same communities, and we also will be back over the next week as well, seeing the recovery process across Southwest Florida.
And really going for months and for years as to however it's going to shape out. Excited to see where this turns out starting tonight here in Fox 4.
Agreed.
And property owners in Lee, Charlotte, and DeSoto counties have until March 29th, so a week from now, to apply for debris removal. This is for personal and business property owners who need debris from the hurricane taken off the property. Qualifying debris includes lost or displaced vehicles, vessels from waterways or private property. For more information, you can also reach out on this. We have that information on fox4now.com.
Well, our comprehensive coverage of nearly 6 months of Southwest Florida's recovery after Hurricane Ian is live right now. You just heard Chris mention fox4now.com and also the free Fox 4 News mobile app. Just search for WFTX in your favorite app store.
And from the top of the luminary overlooking the Caloosahatchee in downtown Fort Myers, we are now in that groove of heat that we knew was coming, and it is here, Shari.
It's so interesting because at the beginning of the week, it felt very different than it does right now. So as we bring in Fox 4 certified meteorologist Katie Walls. Katie, those temperatures look very different than what I saw a little earlier in the week.
Exactly. That's when highs were only in the 70s. Meanwhile, today, we were near records in some locations. Right now, even right now, still very warm. Fort Myers, we're at 82 degrees. Immokalee sitting at 84. Currently, Punta Gorda also reporting that 82-degree mark, 84 up in Arcadia. And looking ahead to the next 7 days, we'll continue to see these exceptionally hot temperatures. Tomorrow, I'm expecting a high within a degree of records here in Fort Myers. We'll stay in the upper 80s, close to 90 over the weekend into the start of next week. So overall, the next 7 days are forecast to be running above average, that average high, which is now 82 degrees. These are temperatures, my friends, more typical of May. That means that we'll likely see our drought index get worse before it gets better, especially with the hot temperatures and lack of rainfall. Right now, we are extremely dry in Collier County, the driest county in the state. No surprise that Collier, Hendry, and Lee all have burn bans, and we could very well, unfortunately, have more locations enter those burn bans sooner rather than later. We'll talk more about that coming up.
And now coming back with a look at the Bayfront Inn overlooking Naples as you look to the east. Some of those puffy little clouds that are out there, but the heat definitely out there as well today. It's definitely watching those high temperatures and how close we got to them. We'll bring in Fox 4 certified meteorologist Katie Walls.
Overall, very warm temperatures, especially compared to how the start of this week, well, how cool it was. We started off in the 70s for highs. Well, now we are in the mid to upper 80s, a trend that will continue as we wrap up this week and head into the weekend. By Sunday, we're looking for highs around 90 degrees. Talk about a flip-flop kind of week where you start off chilly, but you wrap things up and it's feeling more like May. So this afternoon, Fort Myers, we hit 87 degrees. Naples registered 85, 86 for Punta Gorda. Overall, running above average. So for today, we were officially 2 degrees above normal in Fort Myers. Meanwhile, the start of the week, as you well know, very chilly. Chilly mornings, chilly afternoons. So the start of the week, both Monday and Tuesday, we were -6 and -4 degrees respectively compared to the average temperature for this time of year. Well, I suspect that we are done with the rest of blue days for the rest of this month. So it will be pretty warm as we head into the start of a new month. So heads up there. Those abnormally hot temperatures, they're here to stay, and here's the reason why. Strong ridge of high pressure continues to get stronger. As it does so, we have to remember high pressure simply means that we have dense air at the surface because we have all of that air sinking. As that air sinks, it heats up. And that's why we are expecting our temperatures to continue to heat up here in the days ahead as that ridge of high pressure gets even stronger. Right now, even, we're at 84 degrees in Immokalee, 82 currently in Fort Myers. That's our average high for this time of year. 83 in LaBelle, and right now in Palmdale, we are sitting at 81 degrees. So heading into the weekend and the start of next week, very warm temperatures are forecast as we head toward that 90-degree mark. And even into the start of, say, Tuesday into Wednesday of next week, we'll have a little cold front come through, but even then, still expecting those temperatures to run above average. Beyond that week, we look to our 8 to 14-day temperature outlook as we start off a new month. And as of right now, it does look like those abnormally hot temperatures will continue. And of course, with the abnormally hot temperatures, that means we need more rainfall to kind of help balance it out, right? Well, unfortunately, we're not expecting that. We're expecting normal rainfall during that particular time frame. And certainly no wet weather anywhere close to my forecast. So overnight into tomorrow morning, could have some areas of patchy fog here. Parts of northern Collier, Immokalee, extending out toward Hendry County. Otherwise, lots of sunshine on the way. Winds generally out of the east, 10 to 15 miles per hour for tomorrow. Overall, tomorrow shaping up beautifully for any outdoor plans that you might have. Overnight tonight, mostly clear skies. Temperatures not quite so chilly tomorrow morning. We'll drop down toward 62 degrees. Winds out of the east and northeast. Highs tomorrow near records. The record in Fort Myers stands at 90 degrees, and it's going to be a close one. And we'll continue with those upper 80s, heading toward 90 degrees as we kick off the weekend, the final weekend of March, and then the start of next week. Very toasty. Monday's highs forecast at 90 degrees.
Already. Thank you so much, Katie. Well, the country continues to watch a New York courthouse for any update on the possible indictment of former President Trump. The grand jury did not reconvene in Manhattan today.
Well, ultimately, an indictment is up to the prosecutor. Our National Scripts reporter, Joe St. George, explains the role a grand jury plays in the process and how it differs from a jury in a criminal trial.
As the political and legal drama continues to unfold in New York, you may be wondering, how does a grand jury really work? Remember, a grand jury differs greatly from a jury you might see in an actual trial. Grand juries are larger, involving 16 to 23 people in New York. 23 is the standard number in New York for a grand jury. The bar is also lower for a prosecutor in a grand jury to indict someone compared to a jury that could convict someone. A prosecutor only needs to show probable cause in a grand jury, as opposed to a criminal case where there needs to be beyond a reasonable doubt, so a much higher bar. A majority vote is needed to indict, while in a trial, a jury needs to be unanimous. The biggest difference, members of the press can't attend grand jury proceedings. The public is not allowed in, and that's why information has been slow to come out. Grand juries are generally very secretive. Remember, prosecutors don't go to all this trouble involving a grand jury just to indict someone. They also want to make sure their case is strong enough to actually convict someone. A trial involving a former president would be as explosive and controversial as it gets. Joe St. George, Scripps News, New York.
That Manhattan grand jury may reconvene tomorrow and could vote then on whether or not to indict the former president.
Fox News correspondent Madeline Rivera has more on the case from New York.
Manhattan District Attorney's Office canceling grand jury proceedings on Wednesday, delaying a possible indictment vote against former President Donald Trump. Sources tell Fox News the jurors were on standby for Thursday. They were expected to hear from one final witness regarding a 2016 hush money case. Typically, there are 23 grand jurors, and prosecutors need 12 to agree that there is legally sufficient evidence showing Trump committed the crimes he is being charged with.
The last thing the grand jury heard on Monday was a witness who was damaging to the state's case in Robert Costello. If I can take a few days and prep whatever I think I need to do to respond to what Costello gave them, give that to the grand jury.
District Attorney Alvin Bragg has been under enormous pressure not to pursue this case and could ask a judge to dismiss the charges or withdraw the case before a grand jury vote is taken. Trump has denied the allegations against him and claims the case is politically motivated. Some high-profile lawmakers agree.
In New York, you have one of the highest crime rates in America. His job is to prosecute the bad guys, but he's spending all this time in self-promotion trying to do what I consider a political stunt.
In addition to the New York case, Trump is facing several other investigations, including one into whether he and his allies illegally meddled in the 2020 election. He also faces a federal probe into the potential mishandling of classified documents at his Mar-a-Lago estate. Grand jury proceedings are secret, and an indictment typically remains sealed until an arraignment. In New York, Martha Rivera, Fox News.
And still ahead on Fox 4 News at 6.
The Federal Reserve is raising interest rates again. A look at what it would mean for the future of the economy. That's coming up.
And the state of the economy could change how you celebrate Easter this year. We're going to explain just how after the break.
The Federal Reserve raised interest rates today again. This increase comes just 10 days after the White House took emergency action to try to stifle the fallout from two bank failures. Since last March, the Fed has pushed interest rates higher to make borrowing more expensive to try to cool off the inflation. Annual inflation, though, was down to 6% year to year back in February from the 40-year high of last June when it was at 9.1%. The Fed's target inflation rate is 2%, but the Fed's rate increase will keep pushing borrowing costs and even purchase prices much higher. Pharmaceutical company Moderna is now accused of corporate greed in some circles. It's planned to increase the price of a COVID shot to $130 a dose once the government's stockpile runs dry. It'll be later this year. The federal government paid $26 per dose. Plenty of senators upset about this today. Moderna's CEO defended the price bump, saying it expects a 90% reduction in demand. He also says that they plan to work with hospitals and homeless shelters to expand access to the vaccine to those who are not insured.
Well, there is a deadly fungus the Centers for Disease Control wants to make sure you know about this evening. It's called Candida auris, and they tell us it's carried on your skin without causing any symptoms. The CDC says it saw 53 cases in 2016, but get this, that number went up to 1,500 in 2021, and half of the United States is now reporting cases. The agency says healthy people don't usually get sick from this, but this is a concern for people with serious medical problems or weakened immune systems and anyone with medical devices inside of their bodies. And less than 3 weeks until the Easter holiday, and just like other recent holidays, inflation is having a big impact. Typical Easter items like eggs are going to cost you more at the grocery store. Scripps News' Julia Martin reports.
The Easter holiday weekend is quickly approaching. Like so many items at the store, eggs and chicken prices continue to stay high due to avian flu issues.
Backyard chickens, they grow almost every year.
A growing number of people are bypassing the high prices at grocery stores and taking matters into their own hands.
Farm stores are claiming they're up 300% and 400%.
In business for almost a century, Mount Healthy Hatchery says it can barely keep up with demand.
People are panicking a little bit, and I think anytime you have some instability in markets, people kind of go back to their roots.
Back to their roots and into their backyards. Communities across the country looking at rules and regulations for having backyard chickens.
We haven't purchased eggs in almost 2 years now.
While some say they're saving money by skipping the store.
Interestingly enough, I didn't really know what egg prices were because we were eating our chicken's eggs.
Others say not so fast.
If they think they can produce eggs cheaper than you can buy in the store, even with the high prices, they can't.
If your Easter eats include plenty of eggs, the latest USDA report shows customers likely won't see a large drop in prices compared to the beginning of the year.
They're keeping an eye on prices to see whether or not they're going to have an Easter roll or, an Easter egg hunt or whatever, using real eggs or not.
Lindsay Tuckman, Scripps News.
Your ability to fight back against your insurance company could soon change.
Fox 4 Investigates is taking a look at the new bill that would change how you can sue your insurance company. That's right after the break.
Hurry, hurry, hurry. People are shooting.
Hello, call your
They're banging on my front door.
Chilling 911 calls as multiple shots are fired at an apartment complex in Naples. Today, 3 men arrested near the complex right after the shooting, appearing before a judge. We've got the latest from the courtroom.
Live from Southwest Florida, you're watching Fox 4 News at 6.
And as you were just saying, Chris, news since 5 911 calls after shots were fired early Monday at a Naples apartment complex, helping us to better understand how Collier County deputies say they ended up chasing 3 men. Thanks for sticking with us here in Fox 4 News at 6. I'm Shari Armstrong.
And for the first time, those men, 18-year-old Alexander Fonseca, 23-year-old Gregory Henderson, and 31-year-old Shondell McCann, heard the charges against them related to that pursuit. But deputies say the description of the SUV witnesses say that the Abaco Bay apartment complex shooters used matched the white Ford Expedition's description that they ended up chasing.
Fox 4's Brianna Brownlee reports from the neighborhood where the shooting took place.
When out at the Abaco apartment complex in Naples, many of the neighbors were telling me that they did hear the gunshots that Monday morning. However, hearing gunfire in that area is not that uncommon. But what they did also say is that what was concerning is the fact that children was in the unit where the shots were fired at. However, when looking at the case, you will see that no one has been charged for the shooting.
I have 2 small children. Please hurry.
Call your county 911. What's the address of the emergency?
They just shot up this house.
Frantic 911 calls coming from Naples Abaco apartment complex early Monday morning.
Hurry, hurry, hurry. People are shooting.
Hello, call your
They're
county
banging on my front door.
Collier County deputies say they responded to 5 to 20 rounds shot at the complex.
How many people were shooting? Was it one or more persons?
One.
Okay.
Just one guy.
Was he from the driver's seat or from the passenger seat?
No, he got out of the car and walked up to the unit.
Collier County deputies say 2 adults and 2 young children were inside but were not hurt. Court documents and 911 calls say the car leaving the scene was an older white Ford Expedition. When deputies attempted a traffic stop with the SUV matching that description, they say that's when the driver led them on a pursuit.
For the fleeing to elude, given the facts alleged in probable cause affidavit and the showman's criminal history bond is set at $100,000.
Wednesday in Collier County Court, the chase suspects faced their charges. The man deputies say was the driver, 23-year-old Gregory Henderson, charged with fleeing and eluding. And they say one of the passengers, 18-year-old Alexander Fonseca, was caught with cocaine and narcotic paraphernalia and using his twin brother's ID. The other passenger, 31-year-old Shondell McCain, was arrested for obstructing and resisting arrest after deputies say he ran and jumped into a water treatment plant. Again, none of these men have been charged with the actual shooting. I did see Fonseca's mom in court, and when I was speaking with her, she was telling me that she made sure she did appear because she wanted to show her son support. Now, if you do need any more information regarding this case, make sure you check this story right now on fox4now.com. From the Collier County Courthouse, Brianna Brownlee, Fox 4.
Brianna, thank you so much. All right, insurance is something we talk about a lot here in the state of Florida, especially following Hurricane Ian. And your ability to fight back against your insurance company could once again be changed dramatically.
A bill that would change how you can sue your insurance company reached the state Senate floor in Tallahassee. Fox 4 Investigates Ryan Kruger joins us live with a breakdown. And Ryan, both sides agree on one element. This legislation could impact everyone's day-to-day life.
Yeah, that's right, Chris. Republicans say you'll end up saving more money. Attorneys, though, argue your rights as a consumer are going away. One thing is clear. How Florida has operated for years is now one step closer to changing.
Nearly 6 months after Hurricane Ian slammed into Southwest Florida, the battle over insurance and the cost to rebuild are once again front and center in the state legislature. Attorney Gina Clausen-Lozier, who handles a lot of insurance cases, says consumers need to be aware of what's happening in Tallahassee.
And I think a lot of people are going to be very surprised when they have a claim, especially after Ian, that hasn't been paid or has been denied, that they don't have the rights they think they have.
Lozier is reacting to a bill that would significantly impact your ability to sue your insurance provider, whether that be homeowners, auto, or medical insurance. Similar to the bill that passed in December, which only focused on homeowners insurance, this bill would expand to the entire insurance marketplace. It would limit one-way attorney's fees, and it aims to cut down on so-called frivolous lawsuits. Republican House Speaker Paul Renner says the bill will eventually result in lower costs for for everyone and not just on their insurance.
It also ripples throughout the economy. So if businesses are having to defend frivolous lawsuits, which we believe this bill will end, then that gets passed through in the cost of goods and the cost of services.
With a Republican supermajority and support from the governor's office, the bill is expected to pass. One thing is clear: no one can say for sure when your insurance bill will go down in price.
No one in here can say that my rates went down. You know, we're told that it might help within 18 months. People might see relief by then, but that's unacceptable.
And when the bill was first introduced, Governor Ron DeSantis said Florida has long been considered a, quote, judicial hellhole due to excessive litigation. The governor claims that this legislation will bring more businesses and jobs to the Sunshine State. Ryan Kruger, Fox 4 investigates.
Thank you, Ryan. The legislature's push against treatments for transgender minors cleared its first House committee today with a split vote. Republican backers say they are fighting to protect children, but LGBTQ+ advocates warn lives are at risk without the care. Scripps Capitol reporter Forrest Saunders is in Tallahassee with a look at what took place.
You know the top line of this bill, which is a ban on transgender therapy for minors in the state of Florida. But there's a whole lot more in this measure beyond it, which is one of the reasons why we saw such fierce debate from Republicans and Democrats during committee. The legislature's war on gender dysphoria treatments.
Members by 12 yeas, 5 yeas.
Advancing Wednesday. Republicans again pushing through a bill the LGBTQ+ community considers dangerous and transphobic, many leaving dismayed.
They don't listen. They don't care. I didn't expect any different today.
Rep. Randy Fine has been promising the ban on hormone therapy, puberty blockers, and surgeries for trans minors since last year, considering treatments child abuse.
It is not health care to cut someone's body parts off. That is not care.
But his bill goes well beyond that. Doctors could face third-degree felonies for violating the ban. Plus, it cuts insurance coverage of the therapies for adults, forbids use of public funds for them, restricts changes to birth certificates, and creates a pathway for lawsuits against the practice. Finally, in the new version amended Wednesday, courts could weigh in on child custody when gender dysphoria treatments are a factor.
Because these treatments are experimental, they are dangerous, they have a lot of long-term side effects.
Despite some support, doctors, families, and others pushed back in public testimony.
This bill overrides parents' rights to seek health care for their children, potentially life-saving health care.
They pointed to wide support for the treatments from the American Medical Association and others, Democrats offering backup in debate.
And we need to get out of everybody's business. These are health care decisions, just like abortion.
But Republicans didn't budge.
That these children are actually victims.
Now sending HB 1421 to its last committee before reaching the House floor. Now, there is a similar version of this policy over in the Senate. Both of those bills now just one committee stop away from their respective chamber floors. We'll keep watching to see if they advance. That's the latest out here at the Capitol. I'm Forrest Saunders reporting.
We are continuing to keep watch over this bill as well. The Parental Rights and Education Bill, or what critics call the Don't Say Gay bill, could soon expand its reach. Right now, state lawmakers are considering a bill that would take the K through third grade ban that currently exists on instruction of sexual orientation and gender identity and expand it to the 8th grade. But now the State Education Board will consider taking that even further by banning the instruction through the 12th grade. The only exception would be in optional health education classes. The board is set to meet on April 19th.
The Lee County Sheriff says they'll immediately start using a helicopter, drones, stop sticks, barricades, and other police tools to stop reckless drivers. The policy shift comes after Lee County Sheriff Carmine Marcino says 17-year-old Armando Cruz is part of a large group planning out a street race in Lehigh Acres early Sunday morning when an older couple ended up driving through, hauling a boat on their way to the Florida Keys. And that's when investigators say Cruz shot the couple. And the shooting suspect arrested on Monday along with 2 others. The couple's grandson says his grandparents are still recovering. New Charlotte County Sheriff's Office video shows yesterday afternoon at the standoff in downtown Punta Gorda. Deputies took a tip from the Collier County Sheriff's Office that a suspect, James Curry, might be nearby. When deputies found Curry in the vehicle he was in, they tried to pull him over, but say he pulled into a parking lot there at Tamiami and Marion. After a standoff that lasted 3 hours, deputies, though, did take Curry into custody as investigators found 4 loaded firearms inside of his car. He's now facing multiple charges.
Well, Collier County deputies tell us they are looking for a mom and her baby who haven't been seen for nearly a week. 17-year-old Dejournalie Deschamps and her 3-month-old daughter Alicia were last seen at their home in Immokalee on March 16th. They say they have not had contact with their family since then. They tell us mom is 5 feet 8 inches tall. Both her and her baby have black hair and brown eyes, as you see here on your screen. If you have any information that could help find them, you are asked to contact the Collier County Sheriff's Office.
Investigators say a deadly car crash in Venice killed 1 person and injured 2 others. It happened at the intersection of Grove Street North and East Venice Avenue, close to downtown. Police shut down the road for hours after 3 cars were involved. Police say a 54-year-old man died, with a woman also flown to a hospital in critical condition. 1 other person also taken to the hospital.
And how about a 15-degree warm-up from Sunday's high of 72 to today hitting 87 degrees. And I'm tracking even hotter temperatures moving in for the weekend. I'll have all of that for you coming up next.
A reminder here, there continues to be a burn ban throughout all of Lee County, and we're still 2 months away from our rainy season, and the dry conditions mean brush fires can spread quickly. Katie Heck with Lehigh Fire says we are in this fire danger scenario, and she says she thinks that she wants to remind you to make sure to protect your home and your property. So she says, consider anything that could produce a spark. As Heck tells us, that's one of the main causes of fires in our area. She says other causes this year have been yard work, including mowing the lawn and burning that yard debris.
So right now, just the drought index, the little bit of light rain we're going to get here with the cold front, it's just not enough to really saturate the ground or the debris. We have a lot of downed brush right now because of the hurricane. So that's adding a lot of just dry fuel to the ground.
So we have a full list of ways to better protect yourself and your home from fire. We've got that on our website for you, fox4now.com.
And definitely keep that top of mind. Remember the breakout of the Jung fire almost 3 weeks ago in Collier County, which again just kind of reminds everybody as we take a look over the Caloosahatchee from the top of the luminary.
Where it is an absolutely gorgeous evening. But as we bring in Fox 4 certified meteorologist Katie Walls, Katie, we're talking about these dry conditions. What are you seeing when it comes to drought in our area at this time?
Unfortunately, with the abnormally hot temperatures, which kicked back into play today, combined with lack of rainfall, we're likely going to be seeing our drought index get worse. So here's what we're currently up against. Collier County, the driest county in the state. Extremely dry conditions when we look at what we call the Keach-Byram Drought Index. That specifically measures how moist the top 8 inches of the ground are. That's the layer that tends to burn during wildfires. Hendry, Lee counties, not far behind. So that's why we do have those 3 counties in particular, Lee, Hendry, and Collier, under those burn bans. I won't be surprised if we see Glades head into a burn ban here sooner rather than later as those abnormally dry conditions worsen there for our friends in Glades. Charlotte, DeSoto, Sarasota counties, we could certainly use that wet weather, now all considered very dry as well. And one reason why it's going to be getting worse, this strong ridge of high pressure, it's going to continue to strengthen here over the course of the next week. It's going to do a couple of things. One, that will prevent any rainfall from getting anywhere remotely close to us. So it's going to keep us on the dry side as we wrap up the month of March. Also, it will keep temperatures exceptionally hot as well. As this strengthens, our temperatures will be heating up. Speaking of which, take a look at this. Talk about a change up. Sunday's highs in Fort Myers, 72 degrees. Meanwhile, in Naples, we hit 72 for an afternoon high on Monday, and now back to the mid and upper 80s, and the upper 80s near 90 degrees are what we can expect as we head toward the weekend, even into the start of next week. Even for those of you heading out right now, this is where we should normally be topping out for this time of year. 82 degrees is our average high, but instead that's where we currently sit as we approach 7 p.m. So we're at 82 currently in Fort Myers, 80 coming in Fort Bonita Springs. Right now, 79 degrees for our friends in Naples. Helping you plan out the rest of your evening, calling for a partly cloudy sky. Really, though, pleasant conditions for any outdoor dinners you might have, maybe some grilling plans. Temperatures dropping into the mid-70s at 9 and 10 o'clock and into the lower 70s by 11 as well as 12. So tomorrow morning could have some areas of patchy fog right here, especially for northern Collier, Immokalee, stretching back to Hendry. Otherwise, lots of sunshine on the way for tomorrow afternoon. Winds prevailing out of the east, 10 to 15 miles per hour. That again, expecting to keep those temperatures on the warm side. And then we look ahead to your Friday. Similar weather setup, still lots of sunshine on the way, but Friday's going to be even hotter because we'll start to tap into more of a southerly wind. And as we see that southerly wind pick up, our temperatures will be inching upward as well. So for tomorrow, looking for a high around 89 degrees. By the way, the record in Fort Myers is 90, so it's going to be a close one. Calling for a high around 89 or so. Winds out of the east, 10 to 15 miles per hour. Lower 90s expected farther inland. And if we don't hit 90 tomorrow, then we will over the weekend. Look at this hot and steamy forecast. Heading into the start of next week, also around 90 degrees.
Over the next 2 days, we're heading into the produce aisle. I'm going to show you 5 incredibly healthy foods you can get at the grocery store you may have never heard of. In today's Your Healthy Family, we're focusing on gooseberries.
You ever go to a grocery store and you'll look at something and look like, what is that?
If you've ever had that thought about gooseberries, Coach Nino Magadino of Max Flex Fitness in Naples says it's time to go for it.
Sometimes you just have to put yourself out there.
Especially if you have a sweet tooth.
They call it a nature sweet tart. Sometimes you have like that craving or that sweet craving, and then you know that there's cookies in there or something, but if you want to grab something sweet, gooseberries would be great.
He says they're packed with vitamin A, vitamin C, and antioxidants.
Which help, obviously with cold season.
And getting these nutrients through whole foods like gooseberries is better than through a multivitamin.
They're crunchy, they're sweet, they have a really good texture, and they're just different. It's a different flavor profile that you're adding to your nutrition regimen.
Now, he also says they help lower blood pressure and are good for your bone health. In tomorrow's Your Healthy Family, I'm heading to Sprouts Farmers Market in Cape Coral. I'll take you along live to show you the 4 other incredibly healthy produce items you've probably never heard of. For Your Healthy Family, I'm Lisa Greenberg.
A reminder here, our local coverage continues online with rebuilding efforts. In Naples, the list of projects needed to be done post-Ian is more than 300. But what is the city getting to first? We spoke to residents, and some say they think it's the pier. It should be a priority, they tell us, while others want the beaches to be the focus. Tonight on Fox 4 News at 10, an exclusive sit-down with the Naples city manager who confirms rebuilding the Naples Pier is the #1 priority for the city.
The Florida State Senate also took up the so-called civil remedies bill today. It already passed the state house. The legislation goes far beyond property insurance and touches on elements like health insurance and car insurance. It also limits one-way attorney fees and fee multipliers that insurance companies must pay. House Democrats, though, and plaintiffs' attorneys say the legislation that will strip many Floridians of their rights to fight back within the legal system.
Well, thank you for joining us here in Fox 4 News at 6. And a reminder, you can find those stories and more on our website, fox4now.com.
And again, for tonight at 10 o'clock, Nadine Yanis will go really in depth, like we just talked about. Excited to see this. This will be the first of many stories on how we will be rebuilding all throughout Southwest Florida. Again, with that opening look from Naples.
He's got the detailed plans. We'll see you at 10. Bye-bye.
Nearly 6 months after Ian hit, tonight we're asking your city leaders, what are the priorities as you build back? And we start in Naples.
Not too overdone, because it's still Naples and it's still really kind of reserved. So I would like to keep it kind of that feel.
Plus, its doors have been closed since the storm hit, but now they're ready to reopen, and with a new look at the hurricane's impact.
They're treasures to our community.
An exclusive look as the Sanibel Museum is set to reopen, and on Fort Myers Beach, rebuilding changes that could impact the island for years to come.
Fox 4 News at 6 starts now.
Live from Southwest Florida, you're watching Fox 4 News at 6.
And over the past 6 months, Fox 4 has been committed to following through for you every step of the hurricane recovery process after Ian hit. It all changed Southwest Florida as we know it. Thanks for joining us. I'm Chris Earl.
And I'm Shari Armstrong. But tonight, we are taking a look at what's to come. Fox 4 evening anchor Nadine Yanis is live for us. She's got a first look at a series she's been working on, which shows you the priorities for rebuilding in our area, cities and counties, and the plans already in the works. Good evening, Nadine.